Hi guys, so today I'm here with Cameron and we're back in the gym for another video. Today we're going to be focusing on the squat and how to move the most amount of weight for powerlifting. So take it away, Cameron.
Yeah, I think when we learn squat mechanics, it's quite easy to get camped down into a knees over toes versus knees behind toes tribe.
Yeah.
And the reality is that we need to ask the question, why are we squatting? Because there can be multiple answers to that question. Are we squatting to rehabilitate an injury? Are we squatting to develop the quads the most, the hamstrings the most, the glutes the most? Are we squatting to lift the most amount of weight? You know, what type of form we choose depends on what our goal is.
Yeah.
If I'm to say to you, what's the best car? You can't answer.
Is it for speed or?
Yeah, to go to the shops, to do a quarter-mile drag race, it depends.
Yeah, it does.
So when it comes to moving the most amount of weight possible from A to B and then back to A, which is what powerlifting is, moving yourself down into a squat with your hips below your knees and then back up to the top again, that has a particular answer, and the greats of the sport give clues to that answer. They tell you, whenever you see a 900-pound, 1,000-pound squat, it always looks the same. Raw lifting, if you see a squatter with wraps on, the knee doesn't pass the midfoot. And when you see them in sleeves, it doesn't pass the toes. It's not to say that I'm anti knees over toes. I love knees over toes training. But for the purpose of moving the most amount of weight from A to B and then back up to A, we need to use a certain form that hits the quads, the glutes, and the hamstrings evenly. We don't want to bias the quads too much because it's going to limit our ability to lift maximal weight. That's the sport that we're into. So in this video, we're going to discuss what this form looks like, the form that's used by all the best, heaviest squatters in the world throughout history. And then we're going to talk about the common imbalances that prevent most people from maximizing this form and how to remedy those imbalances.
That was sick.
So when we talk about the squatting greats, the greatest squatters of all time, I think people have a short-term memory. If they haven't been on Instagram in the last week, then people forget. When we talk about the greats, we're talking about Vlad, we're talking about Malanichev, we're talking about Ed Cohn, of course, Hatfield, Dr. Squat himself, Winning. All these examples of massive squatters have the same looking squat. Do me a favor, you can type in 900-pound squat, 1,000-pound squat, 1,100-pound squat. You're going to see the same looking form. You're going to see vertical shins, posterior chain dominance. And that's the focus of this video. So what we're going to do is talk you through how to get that, because if you don't understand the nuance, it can seem somewhat impossible. Because we think in order to hit depth, well, the knee needs to pass way over the toe. But that's not necessarily the case, and we'll get into that over near the rack. All right, Ethan, show us some good squats. This is Ethan's normal squat form, and there's nothing wrong with it. You know, I don't have any problems with it. It just depends on the context. So if you guys are thinking, oh, Squat University says this and that, I know Squat University says that. He says the knee should go over the toes. I like that too. It just depends on the context. You know, is the context to bias the quads and develop them, or is it to lift the most amount of weight possible? This style of squatting is great for building the quads. It's great for a maximum range of motion. It's great for building the tendons around the knee, the ligaments around the knee. But this is about powerlifting. This is about lifting the most amount of weight up and down. All right, so the first variation, the easiest variation, is the Hatfield box squat. What you're going to do is you're going to set up a barbell approximately the same height as your bench height, and then you're going to put a box at mid-calf height in a diamond formation behind you. The reason why we use a diamond formation is because it puts less pressure on the sacrum. If you box squat onto a bench, you're going to be putting pressure right onto your spine. We want a nice wide seat for you to sit down on. That's why we use the wide box. Go ahead and give us some squats. This is the easiest version, and you can see it's quite easy for Ethan to maintain relatively vertical shins. Also notice that there's no butt wink here, and he's hitting depth very comfortably. if you have a box at mid-calf height, that's going to be about depth for you. And this is the depth we want to train. We want to train this over and over and over again because that is the sport, getting the hip below the knee. Notice how we don't need the knees to track way over the toes. We don't need that because the knees are opening out. Ed Cohen likes to talk about opening the taint. That's exactly what this is. It's an alien feeling if you're used to an anterior chain dominant squat, but this is the first step. The second step is to take away the box. Now, we were using the box as a crutch, as a depth gauge, but now we're getting a little bit closer to our regular barbell squat. Using the box to train the depth allows you to get that pattern ingrained down so that you take it away and it looks basically the same. We're still using the Hatfield style bar at the front to make things easier, but what this does is it mimics a belt squat. You know, a belt squat is a 1,000-pound machine, but what we're doing is we're mimicking the same motion that translates to your actual barbell squat for free. So that's stage number 2. All right, stage number 3, you take away the barbell that you were holding onto and you do a regular bodyweight squat. This is a little bit more difficult, especially for Ethan because this is his first day doing this. So the easiest version of this is to have your arms out in front of you because it pulls your center of gravity forward. He's still hitting depth well. You can see when he pushes the depth further, you get that little bit of butt wink start to occur. This is about Ethan's limit for the moment, so this is where I'd like him to stay for at least a week or two before progressing. But we're going to show you what progression looks like anyway. So moving on from this, if you bring your arms back to where they would be on a barbell and do the same thing, a little bit more butt wink this time, a little bit harder. All this means is that Ethan has to work on his posterior chain. He's not used to loading it. If we get his hamstrings and glutes to match the strength of his quads, he's going to be hitting deeper depths without rounding, and he'll be using that strong powerlifting style that we know works well under heavy loads. All right, so now we've got Ethan doing his regular squat, except we're using the powerlifting style, something that he's still getting used to. This is more difficult still, and if we were to load this barbell, you'll see it gets even more difficult. So do take things slowly and watch your lower back. We don't want that sudden rounding that you start to see when he dips down. So go back up, dip down, still good there. See, it starts to break. That's what we don't want under load. So don't try to hit too deep too soon. It's okay to be slightly above parallel when you're starting out. This is a totally new pattern. All right, we'll move on to the final evolution, which is loaded. What will your ego allow? 60? Okay.
But bump and plate, so it's like that.
Yeah. Nice. All right, whenever you're ready. Okay, this is the final iteration, the full lift, the full weighted barbell back squat. Now this is going to be hard, and this is only recommended once you've spent a lot of time in the other iterations. But you can see already Ethan's pretty good at this. You know, this is brand new to him and he's squatting fairly well. You can tell that once he gets down a little too far, you get a little bit of butt wink. So we'll just keep it slightly above parallel for now. But this is going to lead to a stronger squat in the long term because we are loading the quads, hamstrings, and glutes evenly. You know, instead of our anterior chain dominant squat style that we're used to, we're now squatting like the pros. Good stuff, bud. Rack. So we've talked about how this style of squatting can be difficult for most people, but we haven't talked about how to remedy that. One of the most efficient remedies for this muscular imbalance, the anterior posterior chain dominance, is the Wenning warm-up, courtesy of Matt Wenning of Wenning Strength. I think he's one of the smartest guys in the game. What the Wenning warm-ups do is they firstly potentiate the muscle groups by increasing the body temperature. Secondly, they increase your GPP, or general physical preparedness, over time, meaning that you can recover from more and make more progress in the long term. And thirdly, you get to remedy your imbalances. You get to spend time working on your weaknesses. The way a winning warm-up works is typically 4 sets of 25 of a movement pattern primer. In this case, we're using the Hatfield box squat. Then 4 sets of 25 of a weak muscle group. In this case, we'll be using the 45-degree back extension, followed by 4 sets of 25 of another weak muscle group. In this case, we'll be using the standing hamstring curl. You do them in a circuit fashion with no rest, very lightweight. So the second part of the winning warm-up is the 45-degree back extension to prime the glutes and the lower back. We're working from everything along here, lower back, glutes, and hamstrings. Priming that mover, getting it working, getting some blood flow in there, getting the temperature up. Again, this is about potentiation, not pre-fatigue. You will be better at your compound lifts for having done this. We're looking for easy, fast reps, no rest between sets, done in a circuit fashion. So the last exercise in our circuit is standing hamstring curls. I'm choosing standing hamstring curls because it's a little bit more applicable to a standing sport. We could quite easily do lying hamstring curls or sitting banded hamstring curls. That would only take a 10-pound exercise band. But this is a great variation if you have the resources. 4 sets of 25 done in a circuit. Get that blood flowing, get that potentiation, and you'll notice that you're stronger and more sound in your new movement pattern, the strong powerlifting style squat. The purpose of this video was just to share some information that I thought was interesting. I've been looking into the squat quite deeply recently, and I found it interesting that all the best squatters look the same, but that's not necessarily what you see in most gyms.
Yeah.
You see a lot of awkward looking squats. So I think the information in this video will help people.
You don't have to lift like this. This isn't like the best way to squat for everyone. It's completely different,
Definitely
depending on what you want to do.
But most people have the same strengths, and most people have the same weaknesses as well.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance that 90% of you watching this video have the weaknesses that Ethan has, have the weaknesses that I have, and would benefit from this squatting style, at least as part of your rotation. Like Ethan said, there's nothing mandatory about any of this. There's no right or wrong. Try it out and see how it feels.
Thanks for watching this video. We'll have more videos like this soon, so make sure to subscribe to mine and Cameron's channel. Cameron's will be in the description. Thank you.